Here from That Park Place, Test Track crash injures 4 guests during cast member preview at Epcot. Like I said, this from That Park Place, July 2nd, 2025, by Marvin Montanaro. Goodness gracious, Culture. Just weeks before its grand opening, or reopening, I should say, Epcot's newly updated Test Track has already made headlines for all the wrong reasons. During a cast member preview on July 1st, a Test Track crash occurred when a ride vehicle slammed into a set of foam sliding doors that failed to open properly. 4 guests were injured in the impact and received treatment on site. Fortunately, none required hospitalization, but the timing couldn't be worse for Disney as it gears up to relaunch the ride to the public later this month. The crash took place during the ride's climactic finale scene, where vehicles accelerate toward a pair of themed doors that are supposed to fling open just before launch. That didn't happen. Instead, the doors remained shut and the vehicle barreled straight through them. The doors are designed to be made soft or breakaway foam as a safety precaution, and they did break apart on contact, but not without consequence. Guests aboard the vehicles were jostled hard enough to suffer minor injuries. Goodness gracious, you can see right here what we're talking about. Culture, I'm sure you're familiar with this. This has been on every single iteration of this attraction, going back to the 1990s, early 2000s. You can see right here, speed ramp this a little bit so you can get an idea. These doors open as you're coming up at top speed right there, and that's what allows you to exit this attraction show building and go on that banked loop at the end right there. So this was significant, and those doors serve a thematic purpose for this specific scene as well, because, well, WDI added this big old huge screen right here, and, well, you have to keep that sunlight from bleeding in and taking away from the scene. Now, from what I understand, sliding doors have just been open. There is no opening and closing effect, at least at this time. Culture, your thoughts on this story?
Look, I always thought that was an interesting thing and an ability that they had to get those doors out of the way quickly. But I always suspected that at some point there would be a malfunction. And, we always were hoping that there would be nobody aboard when they were testing it. This attraction has been riddled with issues throughout its history, ever since they invented and, implemented this ride system. But that particular scene, now it's more important than ever that you don't have this giant blinding light in front of you, because you are looking at this, this fantastic screen effect here, reminding you that maybe we won't have cars in the near future with flying things going around you. But I don't think anybody thought about that. It just, this tunnel is always a lot of fun, but if those doors are becoming unreliable, perhaps they'll have to figure out how to change this effect, because it's just too dangerous for people to run into it.
Oh, absolutely. Even if they're foam doors, I mean, you still have these essentially projectiles now as this foam just breaks apart, and you're going at a very high speed. That could be very problematic. It's just you're going at such a fast speed. That's the issue.
And this is that launch. That's what this is. This tunnel launch is integral to the ride so that you can get up to that, mythical 60 miles an hour, which most people don't experience ever in their life. So that was a lot of sarcasm, folks. But these doors, like you said, I mean, foam or no, you're hitting something at already incredible speed, and you're still accelerating through it, which I think was probably more detrimental than anything else during this portion of the ride. So I don't know, Vash, what do you think? You think they're going to get rid of this aspect altogether and just leave it a gaping wide open tunnel?
I'm thinking they either leave them open or they open them sooner than they did before. I remember when I went on the first version of Test Track, I was very impressed by this effect. And then when I went on the second version, I did notice that the doors just were open. So perhaps, this iteration of the Imagineers thought, well, let's go ahead and get that sliding door effect reworking again. And unfortunately, well, maybe it was propped open for a reason. I do hope that they just don't stay propped open, but they might be compelled to do that. Now, I want to bring up another aspect of the story, which I found very, very interesting. I was talking to WW Pro on his channel about this, and he brought up the fact that not a lot of media outlets were actually covering this particular story. In fact, I think outside of us here on That Park Place, I think Blog Mickey over there Mike over there was the only one to actually cover this particular story. I didn't see it on many of the influencer, let's say, Disney-oriented websites, or mainstream media, for that matter. My question to you, Culture: why would they might be compelled to not run with this story? This was an incident that took place. They did injure some guests on a big attraction that's going to be opening soon here. I'm assuming maybe cast members were involved because it's supposed to be technically cast member previews at this point. We know the dynamics of this attraction, in which, well, it's GM, General Motors, who was sponsoring this attraction. Mary Barra is on the board of Disney. Might there be a couple of reasons as to why maybe this doesn't get mainstream attention?
Well, I mean, you just mentioned all of them. One, it involves Disney. Nobody wants to be on Disney's bad side, especially like the. Well, I mean, did the Sentinel cover it? Did any of the Orlando, papers or anything cover it? I don't know. I didn't check, but if they didn't, that's criminal that they're not like letting everybody in Orlando know that this has issues, and it might help them make a decision about writing it. The other thing is Mary Barra, you mentioned, because she's the CEO of a particular company that's footing the bill for this remake of this ride. In fact, GM has been the sponsor of this ride since its inception, going all the way back to World of Motion. We talked a little bit about that before, but I would say that they don't want to make they don't want to put a bad mark on either Disney nor GM, because every advertising dollar right now is valuable. Because these outlets are not going to survive much longer if people just, go to the new media for their news.
Sure. I mean, I'm looking at the outlets right now that have covered it, and it looks like Walt Disney World News Today, Blog Mickey, That Park Place, of course, Disney Fanatic, and Disney Dining, from what I can see, but no Orlando Sentinel, none of the big name outlets that you would expect to cover something like this. Now, look, if this was Universal and this was, I don't know, something like Dueling Dragons, for example, and you had something come out of somebody's pocket and maybe hit somebody, unfortunately, didn't that happen twice with somebody's eye? Terrible. But you would expect the mainstream media to cover that. In this way, though, we're not seeing that. And the projectile hitting the eye thing, that's the thing. Like, if you go through even foam doors at this speed right here, and those do turn into projectiles, you could have had an incident like that. Now, thankfully, nobody was transported to the hospital on this particular occasion. But again, if it does get to that level, maybe do then the mainstream media actually cover this? It's just I found it illuminating that only a handful of outlets actually covered this on what is essentially a kind of a big story surrounding the only new ride for Disney in 2025. Very, very interesting.
I'm grateful nobody was seriously injured, but at the same time, we wouldn't even know. There's a lot of cajoling that happens after an incident like this, especially at a theme park and resort. Obviously the staff is well trained not to take on the liability of whatever happened to you. So I always worry about people underclaiming what happened to them at the theme park when it's an incident like this, and that would be my broader concern, of course. So
absolutely, and we hope everybody affected by this incident is doing very well and recovering speedily.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media account.